third change in my voice. So it was like yesterday or the day before yesterday, it came out in the news that this person who shot up the ICE building and he got himself killed in a shootout with police had written a message on his vehicle. And keep in mind, there's a bunch of bumper stickers on my vehicle. There's a parallel there. But what it says is key here. This is a very important video. It says Cordis die, and Dios and Dia, if I'm not mistaken, are how you say day in Spanish. And I'm guessing D-I-E as well. But the way he wrote the S, it looks like a C. So it looks like it says Cordic die. Either way, Cordis, right? D-I-S, spelled backwards, S-I-D. Corside die. Now again, I had explained that Obi means king, heart, hut, essence, center, temple, core in Igbo, right? And I connected the sun, right? The day, the sun, okay, to the whole situation. And the day of the Lord, right? The end of the Bible. And so apparently Cordis die, however they would say it, I don't speak Spanish, means the day of the heart, right? King, heart, hut, essence, center, temple, core, right? So you have the core and you have the heart in the explanation of what Obi means. And again, Kuroi Obi means black belt. Obi, the word Obi, O-B-I, is Igbo, spelled backwards, the name of my father's tribe, my tribe by default. And Obi in the Igbo language means king, heart, hut, essence, center, temple, core, and by extension Christ, right? Because the king of the king is the core of the human culture, because it's not just describing, the Igbo tribe. The word describes the whole world, right, as well, because the heart of the human race, for example, it's like a spirit, right? The heart of the spirit of the Igbo people is the Obi, right? The temple, the spirit in the temple, God and the essence of the spirit in the temple, okay? And the heart of all of humanity is the temple of the Lord, okay? So it refers to God, it refers to God's Son, but first and foremost, it refers to God's Son, right? King, heart, hut, essence, center, temple, core. It can also mean elder, and that has to do with the Igbos having switched toward somewhat of a democratic society, right? There's a bunch of village chiefs instead of one core leader. But in one part of the Igbo tribe is the core cult center of God's Son, okay, who is called Eri, which is, I explained it before, Horus, Haro Aries, right? The oldest form of Horus, what's considered to be among the oldest or the oldest form of Horus, okay, is the true form of Horus when you interpret it correctly. Not the gay interpretation, right? Horus is not a gay deity. Horus is the very heterosexual divine deity. Even in the Osirian mythology, his father Osiris is married to a woman. And he's the product of these two spirits, one of love, okay, and one of, music, vegetation, life, the darkness of night, what have you, right? So the sun rises in the morning, so the night kind of gives birth to the sun in a sense, but it's not the same thing, right? God's Son comes from God, who is all good, all knowing, and all powerful. The Osirian mysteries aren't the same as Horus as the son of God, or Horus as the son of Ra, which were more popular in Egypt before the Osirian mysteries rose to popularity. And that became the main story that you hear about Horus being the son of Osiris and his father being killed by Set and him being the avenger and so on and so forth. There's Harware, Haro Eri, Horus the Great One, and Eri, the Igbo Eri, the son of God, the Skywalker who came down from the sky and landed on earth. So that's the most significant. Just like in Egypt, Horus's cult center, right? There were Horus kings, Horus pharaohs. Horus's cult center was the most significant, even more significant than Ra's cult center, because the people who united the land before Ra rose to power, okay, were Horus kings, and God was already in their mythology. When these cults kind of amalgamated, they combined for power, for political reasons, for whatever reason, and I don't approve it, mind you. I think people should tell the pure truth no matter what. I'm not a political person. I don't do things for money and power like Romans. I do things for God. Okay, but when they combined, he became Horus, son of Ra. And then when Osiris, his cult rose to power because the people wanted more power and they wanted the kings to have less power, especially because the first dynasty had come and gone. Then he became known as Horus, son of Osiris. And, the Isis temples were linked up with Osiris, and the Set temples were jealous of that. So their temple, their core, their heart, their spirit. So as you connect the pattern of things, and we're going to get to the Marco Rubio, right? Rubio has the word Igbo scrambled into it, as does David Bowie, the movie Labyrinth, as does, who's this female? Pam Bondi, right? Has the word Igbo and D scrambled into it. Map, Igbo and D. And there's also die in it as well, and that connects to, them screening me out over time, what have you, because they're Satanist. But first and foremost, they punish people who cheat me out of my right to lead on a spectrum. And the rich are punished in their own way, but it's not to my satisfaction. Okay, and they're not supposed to be persecuting me. And why they're doing that has to do with the difference between being a deep spiritual African occultist or a religious person, okay, African martial arts, for example, not a Western cult, but cult is in culture and religion, okay, and not Egyptian or Nubian or anything like that per se either, but morally precise culture. The difference between that and being an LGBT Greco-Roman Western occultist, okay, like Aleister Crowley or H.P. Lovecraft or David Bowie, right? These people think differently. All these rock and roll guys, or Anton LaVey, the satanic, is basically an occultist. Okay, or these serial killers, the Night Stalker, occultists. The difference between their religion and being a serious and divine African martial arts, dressed in all white, moving gracefully, striking, moving more gracefully than basketball players at their best, than R&B singers at their best, just masterfully conveying righteousness, right? And being a Western occultist and an LGBT occultist. Crowley was LGBT, by the way, so was the Night Stalker. What was the other one I was going to say? Okay, a Jewish occultist, right? The Talmud, the Kabbalah, the Zohar. Okay, and the Zohar, right? The Zionist organization, Har for Horus. Okay, Talmud, Tal-Dum, they're taking shots at the righteous martial artists of old. Okay, another way to interpret it is they're taking shots at other people for saying, hey, obviously God's son is going to have certain characteristics, right? He's going to be this tall guy, because it has to do with evolution and what's ideal and so on and so forth. The Torah Harat, you can look at it as, hey, they're making fun of God, and which is stupid, and his son, and saying, hey, we're making it so they rot, and we're getting at you too. Another way to look at it is they're making fun of these people who are too clever by half, who rebel, who think they're doing something, says, hi, you're rotting, and you're going to hell, Harat. Right? The word slaughter is laughter scrambled, because you also have to look at it as people chose to betray the righteous martial art line of old, and they chose to go in their directions, right? And we see that these days with how they're treating me. Their ancestors are reflected to some degree, right? A lot of the braver ancestors were screened out, but to some degree they're a reflection of their ancestors. And as like they say, there's nothing new under the sun, right? And Ra is symbolized as the sun, Psalm 19, Malachi, the sun and righteousness, what have you. Okay. And so we see what their ancestors would do to a certain degree in what they're doing right now, what their offspring have done and what they're doing. They're shunning me, and their ancestors shunned the martial art order in Africa as well, okay, for petty reasons, just to survive. And when you're an African martial artist with heart, okay, you don't respect that. When you're a cultist, you basically don't respect it either, but you are too busy trying to find your life. So in the midst of that, when these people go into trance-like states, right, there's various cults out there, they might very well be sending people to die as to pay tribute to me, but they're still stuck in their satanic way, and they're still obeying the Western governing class through proxy and otherwise. Okay, so I'll leave it there. I give you a lot of information in this video. Thank you.